In today's lab test, we're going to see if Pedal Pawn pedals will drive a Universal Audio Dream65 into sweet SRV territory.
So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation.
I finally picked up the Universal Audio Dream65 after eyeballing it since it was first released. For those that aren't familiar, the Dream65 is Universal Audio's amp-in-a-box digital recreation of the iconic Fender 65 Deluxe Reverb. I watched a good amount of demos on this pedal and the Ruby and the Woodrow, and the general consensus is that it's a very accurate representation of the 65 Deluxe. With the Dream65, not only do you get the stock amp and speaker, you also get two popular mods. There's a lead mod that was popular in the 80s, and the D-Tex mod, which obviously alludes to Stevie Ray Vaughan, and the D being Cesar Diaz, his amp tech. And you get a total of 6 speakers to choose from. 3 come natively, and you get 3 additional speakers when you register the pedal. What really piqued my interest in these is the Dream65, rather than using speaker IRs, UA models the speaker cabinet, the mics, the room mics, and the room itself. This is the same technology that they use in their aux. I will not be doing a demo of the Dream65, as there are a ton of demos out there done by folks that are way better than I am at this sort of thing. 2 topics typically come up when discussing digital representations of tube amps. First is whether or not the digital amp can capture the same dynamics as its tube counterpart. How touch sensitive is it? If you play lighter, does it clean up? If you dig in, does it get gritty? Here I can honestly say the Dream65 shines. I don't own a deluxe reverb, but I do own a super reverb. The Dream65 feels like you're playing through a real tube amp. The second topic that comes up, and the topic of this lab test, is how well does it take pedals? When I first got the Dream and I was playing around with it, I put various drive pedals in front of it, and I could say that it takes pedals very well. Initially, I put a Prince of Tone, a Boss SD2, and a JHS Rat Pack in front of it and played around with gain stacking. And I was super impressed with how good the pedals sounded. So I wanted to see if the SRV Hendrix inspired Pedal Pawn pedals would push the Dream65 into that sweet SRV territory. For those not familiar, Pedal Pawn is a pedal company in the UK founded by guitarist and SRV Hendrix nut Chris King Robinson. Pedal Pawn recreates those hard to find and unaffordable, if you do find, pedals such as the Shanae Univibe and various Cesar Diaz and Roger Mayer creations. I'm a big fan of their attention to detail, as well as how much of a super fan of SRV and Hendrix Chris really is. Here's a funny aside before we get started. I was getting everything ready to shoot this video and took a quick break to eat lunch. I was flipping through YouTube, and Tim Pierce just released a video on Hendrix's band of Gypsy Tones featuring Pedal Pawn pedals. I'll link to that video below. Tim is an amazing player, and you could see how the pedals sound in a professional studio with a way better guitar player than I am. Okay, let's get started with some signal chain here. So I am using my 60th anniversary made in Mexico Fender Stratocaster. This one I just resurrected this morning. I was having some issues with the original neck pickup cutting in and out, and I tried to rewire the pickguard, and that didn't fix the issue, so I ordered an entire preloaded pickguard assembly from Fender with the Tex-Mex pickups that originally came with the guitar, and got that put in this morning. So this is its inaugural debut here. So from there we're going into the pedals, and the first pedal we're going into is the Pedal Pawn Fuzz. This is a recreation of the Cesar Diaz Texas Square Face. That is basically a fuzz face circuit that Cesar Diaz modified for Stevie Ray Vaughan. And from there we're going to go into the Texan Twang. Here we have a recreation of another Cesar Diaz creation, the Texas Ranger. And the Texas Ranger was a modified Dallas Rangemaster, basically, a treble boost. The Dallas Rangemaster basically was just a treble boost, and the Texas Ranger had, you select your frequencies that you wanted to boost, from a treble boost to a mid to, something a little more on the bassy side. From there, we're going into the Pedal Pawn Gypsy Vibe. Gypsy Vibe is off to the side because it is a chunga-sized pedal, but it is a great representation of the Shinne Univibe, and we'll hear that in a bit. And of course, you can't have any SRV inspired pedal board without a tube screamer. So I am using the JHS Bonsai with the TS10 mode selected. From there we go into the Dream65, and basically the Dream65, I'm running the stock amp and I'm running the EV12 speaker because I think it sounds better than the stock Oxford. So what we have basically without the Dream engaged, basically that's your standard straight guitar tone. We engage the Dream. So you can see without any pedals engaged, that's a great sounding representation of a 65 Deluxe Reverb. It's got all the dynamics. You can clean it up. In fact, on these, I like to roll my volume down to about 9. Keep it there. Signal chain. So we're going to start out with fuzz pedal. So like I said earlier, this is a recreation of the Cesar Diaz Texas Square Face, which is a modified fuzz face circuit. I love the fuzz face topology. 2 transistor topology cleans up really nice with the guitar's volume. So with the fuzz engaged, the way I've got it set up, back a little bit. Of course, when you get to slow part, so it gives you all that nice warm sustain. It can get pretty woolly. found with the fuzz is if you engage a tube screamer downstream from the fuzz, and you turn the volume down on the guitar, you can get a really nice, chewy overdrive sound. Moving on to the Texan Twang. Before we do that, there is one pedal I'm missing out of this series, and that is the Octone. I just haven't found it yet. I've been pretty lucky to find these three here. Two of them locally and one of them from Casino Guitars in North Carolina. But Chris King Robinson, if you're out there and you're listening to this, if you just happen to want to send me an Octone, I certainly won't argue with that. If not, I will pick one up as soon as I come across one, because I do want to collect this series. So we're moving on to the Texan Twang. Now with the Texan Twang, like I said earlier, is a Cesar Diaz recreation, or a creation, basically a modified Dallas Rangemaster, basically giving it a little bit more option. So by itself, you know, the cold tone on the deluxe reverb is really nice. It's chimey. But Stevie Ray Vaughan was known for that spank in his sound, basically, and so that's basically what the Texan Twang gives you. So it gives you all the spank, and you can get that at low volume too, which is really cool. It's basically why they created this pedal. So, you know, plugging that pedal into the super reverb, when you kick that pedal in, it just expands the volume of the super reverb. What the pedal really, how it's meant to be used, is there's a point in your amp where it doesn't get any louder. It just gets more compressed and more distorted. At that point, that's where this pedal gets kicked in, and basically it just adds that spank and that brightness to it. The problem with 45 watt super reverb is that point is punishingly loud, so you have to dial the Texan Twang back with the super reverb. One of the coolest things about the Dream is you have your amp volume just like you do on a deluxe reverb, and then you have a master output. Now you set your master output volume to wherever it is, like I think it's roughly around noon, and no matter what I do with the amp volume, it doesn't get any louder output wise. It just does what the amp does. It becomes more compressed and more distorted. So that's a really cool feature of the Dream. I like it a lot. One of the really cool things, like if you wanted to get just downright nasty, kick in a tube screamer with this, then you can see single coils. I'm buzzing a lot. Another thing that's really nice about the Texan Twang is it gives you a more of a glassy feel to it for clean stuff, especially when you roll down the volume a little bit. And I'm going to see if I could pull this off. By the way, if you were expecting me to be pulling Stevie Ray Vaughan licks and all of that, this is the wrong video. This is all about the tone. I'm doing the best I can with these, but you know, Stevie's hard to copy. There's a few people out there that can do it. I'm definitely not one of them, although I am definitely trying my best. But anyway, getting back to my point about that real glassy tone. So if you take a song. So that's a really nice, glassy, clean sound. It just sounds incredible. All right, now we're looking at the Gypsy Vibe. The Gypsy Vibe is their recreation of the Shinee Univibe. I've done videos on Univibes. I'm an absolute Univibe junkie. The Gypsy Vibe is one of quite a few that I have in my collection. It's almost obsessive compulsive at this point. I have a Sir Henry. I've got I'm looking at my shelf here. I've got an R Weaver Violet Vibe. I've got the Deja Vibe from Full Tone. I've got the Unicorn from JHS. Suffice it to say, this is my favorite modulation effect. I just think it's so unique. The Pedal Pawn, they definitely did a really good job on this. I prefer playing Vibe with on clean. And for some reason, I can't get it to sound good with this fuzz. I really got to turn the volume down quite a bit on that. prefer to have the vibe before dirt anyway. Alright, we're on to the last pedal in the chain, and I know this isn't a Pedal Pawn pedal, but you absolutely cannot have an SRV inspired pedal board without a tube screamer. I have the JHS Bonsai mainly because I can't afford the vintage 808, and you can't even find a TS10 that's affordable. You could buy the reissues, but to be honest with you, having all of the tube screamer models in one pedal I think is absolutely brilliant. The JHS has 3 of these pedals out. You know, this one has all the tube screamers. The first one he did was the Muffaletta, which has all the big muff models, and then he did a Rat Pack, which has the Rat models in it. I call these JHS's history of pedals, basically, because it goes through the history of the circuits. So here, this is the Bonsai, and it's in the TS10 setting. The TS10 was basically the last tube screamer model that SRV used. Honestly, there's no better sound in the world than a Stratocaster tuned down a half step into a tube screamer into a Fender amp, whether it's a Deluxe, a Princeton, a Super Reverb, a Twin. It's just such an iconic sound. Basically, it's just got all that, and I think, you know, the secret to this, really, in all honesty, with this tube screamer is I've got the tone all the way up, and it gives it a lot of bite, you know. And by itself, it may sound a little harsh, but you put this in a mix, and this will cut through concrete. I mean, it's just such a great sound, you know. Doesn't get better tone-wise than that. And if you really wanted to make it nasty, dirty, gnarly, kick in your Texan Twang. So basically, this exercise was to see if the Dream65 would in fact take pedals successfully. Some amp sims and amp emulators, they take them okay, but they're not great. I gotta say, like, honestly, I'm getting better sound out of this than I am out of my Super Reverb, and there's nothing wrong with my Super Reverb. It's just that the volumes are a lot more manageable with the Dream when it comes to recording. The Super Reverb live in the room cranked up to 5, while it's eardrum busting. It sounds amazing, but honestly, for recording purposes, I think this Dream is going to be my new pedal demo platform. Super easy to hook up into the interface. The way I've got this set up, I'm using the stock amp, none of the mods, and I'm using the EV12 speaker. I think it just sounds better to my ear than the stock Oxford or the the other speakers. They did include a 4x10 cabinet. They also have a G12M greenback as well, but the EV12 just sounded best. So I'm sold on it. It was a good purchase. This is kind of a precursor because UA just came out with their aux stomp, and what their aux stomp is everything in the aux without the attenuator. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that, because it has something like 32 cabinet emulations and room mics and all that stuff. You can do distances and EQing. It's very powerful, and so I'm looking forward to playing around with that in conjunction with my tube amp expander. It's working great. So I appreciate you putting up with my sloppy playing. I hope the tones rang true, and if you like the video, please click the like. I urge you to subscribe. I'm going to keep putting out content, and until next time, thank you.